You can always count on Dr. Stone to light up your Fridays because once again, another amazing episode, which is kind of just the template at this point in time. You walk in, you walk out, you always think it's a pretty damn good episode at the very least, and I love this episode. I mean, you get some plot set up for some hidden mysteries with, of course, Ruri and the whole idea that she brings up, hey, what's your last name? Which is going to be a fun thing to speculate on because most likely the people that kind of originated her culture and things like that most likely came from the same time period that Senku's did, and maybe not all of them were affected by the basically stone curse that happened, and that's why some of the tales that get taught to these people come from Senku's time period. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's why maybe there was a connection to Senku with someone that he knew, or maybe he won an award or something throughout his school life and he was someone that people really liked. I don't know. There's a lot of ways that they could take it, but it was at least a nice setup to say, oh shit, where are we going with this? Because this is a world of science. They're not going to go magical with it like, premonitions and things like that. So it would have to be someone that he either knew or people knew about him, and that's why he was kind of talked about, and maybe the knowledge was passed down from leader to leader throughout history or something like that. But nonetheless, for a nice little snippet in the episode, it was enough to raise a few eyebrows and say, oh, once this little tournament's all said and done, there's going to be some interesting conversations, especially because in this current day and age, last names aren't a thing. So that was definitely fun. But then you get all the comedy, the venomous forked tongues, and just all the dialogue that was just cracking me up in just the comedic direction. But then you get badass action in really interesting moments for characters such as Kinro and Ginro. And I love this. It was just a very fulfilling episode. The comedy was actually some of my favorite that we've seen over the past few weeks, mainly because it was such a simple decision, but especially in the early stages of this episode, I love seeing just the idea that Senku, just as they created different types of acid, like, okay, we take this, we make it into this, we take this, make it into this, oh, we only have a few more steps left, but you'll have characters like Suika just being absolutely terrified, probably shitting her pants. And I love seeing just the repeat animation and still frame of just seeing the poor girl and just the characters getting more and more villainous, and then you switch it and put it on Koku when she realizes, oh, it's real dangerous acid, huh? And you're gonna feed it to my sister. I don't think so. And then you get her images, and then she sees what they do. They piss into a bottle, which, oh man, that simple but effective moment is just what I love about Dr. Stone. You can just take the same image and then just say, okay, if they're making this, put it back up. And we're just going to keep laughing because of how simple the execution is. But then when you take that same formula, before it grows old and stale, you apply it to a different character who is not like freaking out because she's super proud of the progress, but actually that she's pissed off of what you might do to her sister. That's the type of comedy that I love in Dr. Stone. You have such wild and varied personalities that you can kind of do any style of formatting for a comedy scene, and most likely it will either entertain you or it'll actually get chuckles out of you. And either way, that's a successful point to the show, in my honest opinion. So I really did like that because, we're approaching the tournament. Where are they going to go? We're going to do the final preparations. They're talking about how they're going to get Magma, just kind of hit him in his nuts because, well, it's a cheap shot, but who cares? Oh, we're going to drug him up and get him some caffeine, some just endurance to basically heighten them up because they cannot afford to not have one of their own win this tournament, and we can't have Koku do it again because then it'll just be void. They'll have to do it all again. They can't risk that. They have to make up a plan to take out the big man here as soon as possible, and then whoever wins at that point, who really cares? But I do like the idea that Senku's like, I'm going to add into this, but, at the end of the day, I'm not really trying to win here. I'm just going to tire a couple of people out. I thought, maybe he was going to, say, okay, now it's time to reinvent my ray gun that I had back in the day that I blasted my opponents with. It's just I love it. It's so simple. It's them just talking and kind of drugging up, training up, and I thought it was so funny because you have all these people just really feeling like, man, they are so close. If they can get alcohol, they can most likely save Koku's sister. And that's actually really inspiring. You feel like, holy shit, this is episode 13. How many weeks now have we been watching these characters, gather simple things, make simple things, sometimes make major inventions and leaps in technology, but all for a pill, right? But that pill is a game changer, not only just for her, but basically anyone who gets common illnesses most likely. That this could literally shape the entire village to not have to watch people that they love pass on far too quickly in their life. Because you look at someone like Ruri and look at how young she is. The fact that she could die in just a few months, a few days, because of something that we could easily treat in our own world over a few days, a few weeks. It's like, this is so important, but it feels like, okay, we just keep making different types of acid, or we're gathering this and this. It's like, really all for a pill, but yes, all for a pill. And I love the idea that the final stage, the final obstacle, it's not them going and kind of like tiptoeing around acid that's going to burn their body. They have to enter a tournament, which is so fitting for this current environment and time period that is basically back in the caveman era of the Stone Age, and I love that. And the fact that when we did get into the action, it was pure adrenaline rush, I love it. Because, you know, this was something that they really had their plans. They really were like, okay, let's hopefully by the last stage when he's all wore out, let's fight him there. And it's like, oh, god damn, Kinro, Magma right off the bat, you gotta love it. But I actually did think he was going to lose. I really did think they were going to go that route, and then maybe it would be someone like Senku going up against him, using his intelligence to wit him, something like that. But the fact that they went the route of doing something very similar, which we've already progressed throughout prior episodes, was we have someone who also has the fuzzy eyes, which means that he needs glasses. And I think the idea that he can very clearly see people up close and personal, but when they pull away, he has to start squinting. And the whole build up to that was fantastic, because the intro to the fight was actually like, man, that training's working out. It's like, could he actually beat him? He's actually forcing him to retreat, but once he retreats, oh god, he doesn't have glasses. And I mean, people might want to argue like, okay, realistically, could they really have the same prescription? But even if it isn't a perfect 10 for 10 prescription, the fact that he couldn't see distance the same way Suika can, it's naturally going to help his vision and make him a stronger fighter. And I love the mockery in this battle, because he's like, hey, if I would have had this vision all along, you would have never beat me. It's like, oh, the shade. I love it. I love how these characters, like, once they get that W, they're like, okay, let's say it how it is, and rub, like, basically pouring a bag of salt into his wounds. Because not only was he defeated by a girl, which in their culture is like, if you can't defeat a girl, you can't be leader of our clan. So not only does he have that on his shoulders, now the person who he's like, okay, he's gonna be my right-hand man, my henchman, someone who, he's strong, I've always been stronger. God damn it. If he had that helmet, he could have beat me all this time. Like, he's obviously going to make excuses for himself, but to just see such a scummy and not likable character, but was a very fun addition to this, because without him, we wouldn't have had that villain to root against, right? So to have him just be nothing, just thrown to the ground as we see the helmet-wearing bastard, gotta love it. You gotta appreciate that. And this episode was definitely memorable. I really like how it actually structured 3 different things within this episode that is kind of what this series is built on. We got the mystery, we got the comedy, and then we got kind of like the action slash kind of technological advancements. And I'm going to call like the science progression the same thing as action, because in this series, when they build a giant machine, like, that's kind of like the same thing as watching 2 characters duke it out in a grand tournament. So in this episode, we get the whole idea that, oh shit, Senku is known by someone in their past, which is obviously going to be cool, especially when the whole tournament is all said and done. We got all the great comedy, which is pretty much matching some of the best that we've seen over the past few weeks with the whole repeat comedy situations, but then you get all the fresh faces and just venomous looks, but then you get that tournament, which was incredible. And I especially love that moment where you got that one guy coming up being like, oh, she's dead. She's gonna die, she's drowning. And then you have someone who is all about logic being like, bitch, are you serious? I love how someone like Senku isn't the like cliche, oh god, she's in trouble, let's go save her, let's try to get back in time, and they'll get back in time just in the nick of time. Like, I love how he didn't do that. Yes, you can argue Koku did, because, well, that actually just fits her character. Like, even if he's lying about her dying, she probably is in trouble, which she definitely was. So for her, it would make sense to go along with that. But for our brainiac Senku, bitch, are you serious? I love how he doesn't follow the tropes and gimmicks and calls out the bullshit and mocks him. And then when you see like, oh god, he's gonna start throwing rocks. Yeah, actually, this man over here, he may not like me, but he likes the rules. And then he has to drop his own stuff that he was gonna bring into the tournament. I just love how these characters are so ridiculous. They mesh in so well. And even though in this village we only have one modern personality interacting with all these basically cavemen, cave women, it's hilarious to see how organically their conversations are formed. And I love it. This was exhilarating. The fact that we took out the main thing that caused everyone to join this tournament at stage 1, that's actually going to be pretty fun. Now that we got our characters who will actually just be able to not have to fake it or basically, you know, be like, okay, now it's Senku versus Ginro. Okay, I'm just going to pretend I get hurt. No, they could actually fight for it. They could actually say, who's actually deserving to marry, which at this point in time would actually seem to be the progression they'd want to make. As long as they're not going up against someone they don't want to win, which technically they've already defeated the person they really didn't want to, but at this point in time, the odds are in their favor. Most likely, they're all going to at least try their best. Maybe Senko will be like, I don't really feel like it, and maybe he'll get convinced or something like that. But still, it's like, this feels rewarding. Not only have we advanced technology, how far all the acids and things like that, we're so close to making modern medicine, we also now are just chilling in a tournament. It just kind of feels like a sports game. I just feel like this season of Dr. Stone, the first core, now that we're entering into the second, there's so much possibility, not only because they got the modern medicine on the horizon, but we got these new questions we get to answer. We get this where the village will go after the new chief is basically crowned. Ruri is most likely saved with her illness. Like, this is going to change everything. And then at that point, I wouldn't be surprised if we focus back on our other characters and seeing what's going on in Tsukasa's land of basically brute force and women. Like, there is so much to do and explore, and no matter what they decide to do in an episode, they can basically entertain us. I really don't think there's been a boring episode. Even the stuff in the intro stages, which a lot of people were like saying to me, like, oh, get through that and you're gonna love this series. I was loving this series from episode 1, so it's like, this just continues to flourish and find new ways to be so goddamn gripping, and I keep leaving with a smile on my face, laughing a couple of times and being like, holy shit, I can't wait to see next week and see where this mystery or the technology will go in the future. Overall, fantastic episode with definitely some interesting curveballs for sure, but what did everyone think? For manga readers, anime originals like myself, let me know down in that comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like, and also hit that subscribe button if you have any news. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.